Hi, it's Rona, and today I have a layout for Scraplift Crafternoon. Today we are scraplifting Carolyn Murray, who is Scrapbook713 on Instagram. I am going to be using a Cocoa Vanilla Studio collection called Wild at Heart, and this collection was from 2017. And I did not buy this in 2017 because I didn't have any granddaughters at the time. And I was trying to purchase more boyish collections and that kind of thing. But look how perfect this is with my photo of my granddaughter. These photos are from 2023. And I purchased this collection these few pieces of this collection, a package of die cuts and several papers, and then some things from the Happiness collection, which included some clear stickers and several sheets of paper, which I think I've used some of in a video a few weeks ago. But anyway, I purchased it at a scrapbook yard sale from a very good friend of mine, Nikki, who was getting rid of it because she had so many duplicates, and 2017. But I'm thrilled to have it because it matched perfectly. So I was super excited to find these photos and pull this out and get some of this used up. Now, before all of you who love to use your scraps just has a panic attack, I don't have any scraps from this collection. And again, 2017. So I didn't pay much for it. I am going to take 1-inch strips out of all of these papers. I hate doing that too, right? Because they're all brand new, and I'm sure in some collection somewhere I had 1-inch strip scraps. But I really wanted to use this, and sometimes it's just fun to cut into some new paper. And now I have a lot of scraps, right? So I can do whatever I want with all the rest of this paper. Also, not having a whole lot of embellishments to choose from also makes me want to just use this up and do what I can do with it, because it's not something that I'm going to make a lot of layouts out of. But for $6, I feel like even if I only make 2 or 3 layouts out of it, I totally got my money's worth. So I'm totally good with that. So I'm going to gut this paper because it's gorgeous. And I also need to make a strip out of it, so I had to gut it. And then that's the paper that I felt like just really looked perfect with the photos. But then all of these, also do. So I'm going to lay out my strips, and then I'm going to dump them off and go start stitching on the white, and totally forget what order I had my strips in. But I came back, added the strips, and then I stitched those as well, all off camera, because I do enjoy stitching, just sitting in my recliner and watching TV or whatever. Last night it was while my grandkids were there, actually, and they were playing and things, and I did some of the stitching right then while they were there playing with Grandpa. So that was fun. I did rough up the edges of each of these. I used my fingernail, and it was easier to rough up the edge where the stitching was close to the edge, and then go back in, pull the other side up of the other paper up that was beside it, and kind of rough that up. It's not super noticeable, but I like the look, and it does give a little bit of dimension. So I always like my backgrounds to have some dimension to them. So that's kind of my go-to. And I did, just use my fingernails on these. I used my edge distressor on the plain white cardstock in the background, and then I'm going to pull it out also when I get ready to do the tag here in a minute. There's all of my stitching on the back side. And then I'm going to go ahead and get this placed. I did put adhesive on both sides just because I wanted to make sure it was stuck really well and wouldn't come apart when I started putting it into my scrapbook. It shouldn't, because they usually sit for a little bit before I actually file them in the scrapbooks, and that adhesive is permanent after like 24 hours or so. So I found this little cut apart, and it says, "When you love what you have everything you need." And I think that's totally fitting for these pictures because Addie loves that baby. And I got this baby for her birthday. And I'm so excited. And I just absolutely love that she loves that baby so much. And I think, even now she still plays with babies. I don't know if this one is still her favorite because it's old now. But she still plays with all the babies at grandma's house. And I know she plays with her babies at home too. So I think that's very sweet. And I was glad that I was able to find one that she really liked. So I'm just trimming that down. I did my outside border larger than what Carolyn did in hers. I liked that. I wanted all those flowers to really shine because I knew that the embellishing was going to be a little bit minimal, and I really wanted that outside to shine. But then I had to kind of squeeze a little bit to get this stuff to all fit, which it did, and it looks fine, and I'm pretty happy with it. I made this into a tag because she had a tag there, and when I saw this another cut apart that had the blue floral, I thought it was perfect because I did do all of my stitching in pink and I needed a little bit more blue. So I thought that worked out very well. I had to put my date on here so I wouldn't have to search and search and search. It took me forever to find when these photos were taken. And I don't scrapbook in order. So I had these already printed, so I didn't think I had scrapbooked them yet. But, it wouldn't be the first time that I would think I hadn't scrapbooked something and then, get ready to do it and double check. And sure enough, I already had done it and just reprinted the photos for some crazy reason. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and make this into a tag. And I think this worked out pretty well. You can't really tell that it's not a tag when you just look at the layout. Even though it was two cut apart rectangles, it made a cute little tag. And so I'm going to go ahead and distress that as well, poke my hole, and I am going to use some of the same DMC floss that I used to do all the stitching in that pink. So I had to go find my hole punch. There we go, found it. It was one I had been using in camp, so it was still in the bag with all of the camp stuff. So I pull the floss off of this, and it's so bent. And I kind of fussed with it a little bit and then decided, you know what, I'm just going to go heat up my curling iron and straighten it out. And that's exactly what I did. But I'm going to go ahead and place a few things and, of course, get adhesive on the front of my photo. I don't know if you all struggle with that. I don't know how I do it. It seems like, I know better than to lay something down on top of a photo, but it still never fails that something gets dropped or whatever, and I end up with adhesive on the top of my photos, at least half of my layouts. I originally found this, and I even kind of scuffed up the edges a little bit of this because I was thinking it would be a good title, but I'm going to go through all the rest of this ephemera pack, and I'm going to find something I like a little bit better. So that is going to be changed out, and I like the size of it better as well. So now I'm kind of fussing around with these florals, and I mean, seriously, I fussed and fussed with them. They are like the normal flowers from Cocoa Vanilla that have the leaves attached. And for some reason, for me, I don't know what to do with the leaves sometimes. I just struggle with that. So here's the one that I am going to end up using, and it says, "This makes me happy," because the baby doll makes her happy, and her liking the baby doll makes me happy, and so I thought that was appropriate. So this one, I liked the end of the tag, but I wanted to save the words for a different time. And there you can see that it's all nice and flattened out because I used my curling iron. And then I'm going to add the thread on the top of my tags. I originally just was going to do string at the top, but then I didn't like it, so I ended up trying to do a bow. And when you're using the DMC floss and you just have a small little amount, trying to get these little tiny bows done is kind of a challenge, but I I got it done. Used my needle to kind of make sure all of the floss was together so the loops looked like they were normal. And then I had just this tiny little bit of string for this one. And it worked. I did get it, and I glued it down to make sure it would stay. I did add a little bit of pink to the end of that, even though I saved the "You Are Lovely" to use somewhere else because, it was going to be hidden behind the photo and it was going to be sideways. So I just went ahead and cut it off and then added a little scrap of paper to the end. So just a tiny little bit of the pink shows, and I liked how that looked. And I had already done that on the other tag, so why not? Do the same thing again. It's just adding the string. I do like to glue the ends of my, especially when I'm using DMC floss, I like to, kind of put it where I want it and then add a little liquid glue so that the threads don't separate and, so that they'll kind of stay how I want them. It can be a little difficult to work with when you're using this as opposed to just a string or a ribbon or something. So I do like to use it when I've done a lot of stitching because I like it all to match, so it works. And you can see pretty much the layout right here. I'm going to go ahead and add some more fun foam. I didn't pull out my normal foam adhesive that I normally use. I was using fun foam because it was just right here and handy, and I started with that and I just kept going. I love this little bow, and so I'm going to add that over this piece of ephemera. And I don't know if you notice it, but it really bugged me here, and you're going to see that in a second. That ephemera was not centered. The words weren't centered on that piece. And it's, it's a definite, with the shape that it is, it was very obvious that it was not centered, and it was bothering me. So I just picked it up and cut it off and kind of roughed up the edges with my fingernail, and you cannot tell at all that this isn't how it was supposed to be. If you got out your ruler and measured and, did the angles, you'd probably be able to figure it out. But to me, it looks more centered this way. The bow is in the center under happy because it's the center of the bow is the center of the word. And I just like it better like this. So that's what I did. And it's my piece of ephemera, so I can do whatever I want, right? Don't be afraid to cut up a piece to make it work for you. So I'm still adding the foam adhesive behind these florals. I curl up my leaves and I use some adhesive at the bottoms or the tips of the flowers or the leaves, and then I squish the center part down just to kind of make it look a little bit more realistic. I only popped up the top part of that tag, and or it's a little ticket, and it says issued to and a line and love lifetime pass. And I thought that was really sweet. I added a little butterfly, and now I think for my finishing touches, I'm just going to pull out these little puffy hearts that I leave on my desk all the time and find some that match, and they do match very, very well. It never ceases to amaze me with these 5 or 6 packages that I always find something that matches. And those little hearts are, freckled fawn, and they're pretty old too, but they just match. Something always matches, and I'm able to use those. I'm not one who really likes enamel dots, but these puffy hearts are kind of enamel dots to me. So I end up using those quite a bit. Still fussing around, looking at every single piece of ephemera in that package to see if there's anything else I really need, and I don't think I add anything else. I think I like it how it is, and I'm going to go with that. So check out the playlist below and see what each of the Scraplift Crafternoon ladies are doing. There are 10 of us. The playlist will include everyone who did Scraplift this layout, and definitely go back to the original creator and give her some love as well. She has some really pretty stuff, and it's a lot of fun to see how everyone else has scrap lifted something that you scrap lift, so I always enjoy that, and give it a try. It's a great layout to lift, and it was a lot of fun. Thanks a lot, and I will see you again very soon. Bye-bye.